Hello friends, I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. Almost forgot to do this today. It is like 8:30 right now. It's late. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Happy Labor Day if you're in America. If you're not, sorry for you're not having a holiday today. I finished the Green Mile today. Or not today. I actually finished it on Saturday. I finished the Green Mile, all 6 books. This is an old school copy that came as the original 6 published books in a little slipcase. And I gotta say, I very much enjoyed the read, but not my favorite of King's work. And I think this is one of those times where I can say, just watch the movie. Like, the movie is fantastic. And I'm pretty sure, it's just kind of beat by beat. The movie works. I haven't watched it in a very long time, so I need to watch it to be sure that I'm saying that. But the way this story is told, because King wrote it in 6 little novellas, there is some padding in here that doesn't really need to be here, and I think that the movie does just fine, right? As with any literary to film adaptation, the literary version, you're going to get a lot more of the character's internal motivations and a lot more of the character's internal insights than you can get with the movie. But I think that in this particular case, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of just other things happening in this person's life as he's telling this story that it's kind of not what it's all about, right? I don't want to, I guess you've probably, if you're watching my show, you're old enough, you've probably seen the movie. So I don't think I'm going to be spoiling anything here. But it is another one of King's kind of Bible-ish good versus evil stories, where he if you've not read The Stand or Salem's Lot, or I guess even the Dark Tower series or books like that, or It, and you're not aware, Stephen King likes to give supernatural powers a physical manifestation, meaning that when he creates an evil, that evil is a thing. It's not just evil, right? It could be a clown. It could be some sort of vapor. It could be. There is a trace, like an actual trace, and so this book, very similar to The Stand, has a character that is in direct opposition of evil and is essentially a messenger of God. And there's a lot of Stephen King touching on Bible stuff in here. And I enjoy those books. I enjoy those books because I grew up as a Christian. I grew up really, wanting to believe that there was something more, and it wasn't until later in life, well, my teenage years, where I kind of lost all of that and discovered that I don't necessarily believe any of that. But reading King's works really brings some of that stuff back for me. It really makes me go, yeah, maybe there is something more, right? That isn't just skin and bones and neurons. He does well with that. And I think that in this particular instance, though the main character is highly religious, and he talks a good bit about what he feels religiously about the inmates of the prison, that sort of stuff. He's not trying to hit you over the head with Bible stuff in this. Same thing with The Stand. If you read The Stand, he's not trying to beat you over the head with Bible stuff. He's just trying to maybe explore, Christianity as a theme, and explore characters who have devotions to whatever it might be. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Not other than. I don't really think there isn't other than. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It was handled very, very well. I am curious to know if anybody has read, like, the novel, like the just one piece kind of thing. I I might look the next time I'm in a bookstore. Did they just print all of these in one binding, and so it's still presented as 6 stories, or is it? Did he figure out a way to make it work? So as you can imagine, there's a little bit of refreshing between each book, and so there are some pages that are almost identical copies of the previous book, because he'll pick up the story kind of just before the previous book ended, and that can be a little frustrating, especially when you're reading them 6, right back to back to back. I get the reason for it, and in fact, in the afterword, he talks about that. He talks about how he wasn't sure how he was going to approach refreshing the reader with the next book, and he looked at Dickinson, because a lot of Dickinson's works were done serially. He looked at Dickinson as an example, and what he found was that Dickinson didn't. He just didn't refresh you, and if he did, he made the refresher part of the story. And so that's what he's tried to do here. We have this whole like current timeline story that is where the narrator is currently in today's world. That kind of bridges the gaps between each little novella. Works really well. It actually worked really, really well. And again, I have nothing bad to say. I think this feels like one of the most correctly edited Stephen King books I've read, meaning that I don't feel like this one was a bit of a just free flow. If you've read something like, I just forgot the name of it. The book about the hotel. Whatever. If you've read that book, I think that book has a whole lot of these meandering sections that just needed to be cut from the book, because they don't matter at all. And if you've read the Dark Tower set, there's a lot of that. There is a whole lot of obviously unedited portions. This doesn't suffer any of that. This feels very tight. It's a very concise story. Steps through each motion of the characters and their lives. The characters are very believable. They have very good motivations. The main character is a very likable person. The focus or the John Coffey, who is the prisoner that has supernatural powers, you feel very empathetic toward him in all regards, and it was a really good read. I'm really happy that I picked it up this way and was able to read these little booklets. I've been reading mostly on my Kindle for the last few years, and so having a physical book in my hand felt a little funny, and it was really weird when I wanted to read in the evening and realized that I had to have a light on, because my Kindle, I've got the Paperwhite with the backlight, and I keep it at the absolute minimum setting, which is enough to read in the dark for me. I don't need it to be brighter than that. But this I couldn't read in the dark. I had to find light, and that was really awkward. So yeah, The Green Mile. If you like King, I think you'll love this. If you've never read Stephen King and you like the movie, this might be a good first read for a King. If you're wanting to read King, I think this is a good introduction to his writing style. Yeah, I will say this is a period piece. This is set. Well, I guess the overstory is set in the 90s, but the story that's being told in here is in the 30s. So there are some hard N words in there, and that's something that King has done many times in the past. He will have characters who drop racism, and he doesn't censor himself from that. So if that's a problem, maybe avoid this. But I think that the main character who you're supposed to the narrator and the main character in this book is very much not a racist. He's very much like, he doesn't like that sort of stuff. But King himself will put it in his books and doesn't feel weird about it. So there you go. That's all I have. Thank you for being here, as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Wow. I'll tell you why wow here in a minute. Today's word you should notice sounds smart is niggling. It is an adjective meaning demanding a great deal of care, attention, or time, or trifling and insignificant. People just don't understand how difficult it is on us to attend all the niggling needs of our servants. Niggling, Niggling. That is, speaking of the word being in here, I have a hard time saying that word. I have a hard time hearing that word. It makes me cringe. Like, I don't know. Yeah.